We start from the very beginning in English. It's my pleasure to welcome once again our new friends and partners from Stanford University. They're going to present their program. The program is University Innovation Fellows Program, and it's a new program focused on innovative students with ideas. So our colleagues are going to present briefly the program, and also we are going to receive some information how students can apply to this program, what are the requirements, what are the opportunities. So while we are going to fix these technological issues, our partner from BEC, the Bulgarian Entrepreneurship Center, Mr. Dejan Popov, is going to say a few words in advance. Okay?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This program, as already mentioned, is for every one of you, and it's about innovation, and it's about starting opportunities for you in a new angle, and possibly if you want to see it from the different perspective, you can grow your opportunities in your future. They will talk about the innovation process, how they do it overseas, but as they already mentioned, it's not targeting the students in the States. They do have a lot of students in the States, but the program is open for a lot of students in India and some other countries, in Latin America, Europe, Australia, and so on. The goal of this presentation is by end of May to select students from the university here. Beck will support you to go to a training in September in the USA, in Stanford University, where this training takes place. So they will show you a workshop. They will show you right now what and how they teach in that program. Again, Beck will support 4 students from the university to go there in the fall, and you all have that opportunity to apply and get it. I am expecting, and we're expecting, those students to pass the information and inspire other students in the university about innovation, about growing their horizon. And I hope they will be ready shortly to the presentation. It is kind of a different form of the presentation. It will have some PowerPoints, but they will also work with the lot of students and so on. That's how they try to empower the students, passing the idea and providing the changes. So I hope they will be ready shortly. Thank you.
I'd like to get a sense of who's in the audience. How many of you are in your final year of studies? All right. How about your third year? Okay. 1 final year, 1 third year. How about your second year? All right. That's 5 people. How about your first year? Okay. All right. That's a good spectrum. So a lot of interest amongst first years. I'm happy to hear that. Let's think about majors, so your disciplines. How many of you are majoring in, let's see, it's international economics and international relations? Is that right? That's one big one? Business administration? No. Okay. That's about 5 hands. How about law? Okay, 1, 2, 1. How about architecture? Okay, what's the one that I'm missing? Computer science. Computer science. How about computer science? All right, there's a handful. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming today. My name is Humera Fasidin.
My name is Leticia Britos Cabañaro. And Vera and I are the co-directors, the co-founders of this program at Stanford called the University Innovation Fellows. So this is us, our names, our emails. So this program is a program that is based at Stanford University in the heart of Silicon Valley. How many of you are familiar with Silicon Valley? Yeah, it's an obvious question. It's like everyone or no? Like raise your hand if you know where Silicon Valley is. Okay, a few hands. So Silicon Valley is an area in Northern California where a lot of innovations that we use today, you know, like things that you have in your pocket and use all the time, sometimes like too much, were born, right? And Stanford University is a university that is a key part of that ecosystem of innovation. Within Stanford, we are at an institute that is called the Institute of Design, in a short form, the D School. It's a place of interdisciplinary collaboration. We have students and faculty who come from all different disciplines, as well as people from industry, to work together in tackling big challenges, big problems in the world, and learning the skills to be an innovator. Now, we're going to start by giving you a little task to do. So for that, you need to have something to write on a piece of paper. If we have paper available, if not, if not, we'll just use one. Hopefully you have, can you just grab one and pass it? Just grab one of these, grab one. Yeah, just take one. And have paper that can go there or in your notebook if you want, but and there's some going to the back. Great. Can you pass it more to the back? There's a group of people over there that need paper. All right. All right, so it seems that everyone has a place to write on, or more specifically, to draw on, sketch on, because I'm going to ask you to draw, sketch an innovator. What is an innovator to you? And you have 1 minute and 33 seconds to do that. And your time starts now. Draw an innovator. You will then share. What does an innovator look like? Go ahead. 50 seconds left. I see some people who have nothing in the page. So go ahead and draw what an innovator. You can use labels. You can label things.
You will not be judged on your artwork. Just draw something.
30 seconds. 'Yes. I want you, and we're going to give you another minute. Draw what an innovator looks like to you, in whatever way you want. Represent graphically an innovator. Okay?
He looks like how you want that.
50 Okay, last 30 seconds, draw something. If you feel that you cannot draw, you can use words as well. What is a word that represents what an innovator is? All right, time's up. So now turn to the person next to you, and in some cases you might need to turn to the person behind you, and share what you drew, and share what your innovator looks like. Go ahead. Share with the colors. You can share here, perhaps. Also, you can do it in a team of 3. It's okay if you have like 3 people. You feel you can share together. Go ahead and share. Okay, so let's come back to the front and hear some of the things that you shared. What are some of the characteristics of the innovators you drew? What did you draw? Anyone? Anyone wants to share? I heard you talking, so you had something. Yes, let's hear you.
I drew Steve Jobs.
You drew Steve Jobs?
Yeah,
okay.
And I mean, it's not a very good depiction, but
I can totally see Steve Jobs there. Right?
It's
like
the
if
glasses.
you hadn't told me.
It's the glasses.
Okay,
yeah.
it's the glasses. And why Steve Jobs?
I don't know. I guess because he kind of just started the company, you know, in his garage, so like out of nothing with his friends. So I mean, he had no money and somehow still invented, you know, like a computer somehow.
So I heard he started a company, courage, started from nothing, invented something. What else? Anyone else wants to share what they drew? Do you want to share? Go ahead. Just share something. What is the essence of what you drew?
Leadership.
Leadership, okay.
Then ideas, knowledge.
Ideas, knowledge.
Realization of ideas.
Realization of ideas. Great.
Team.
Mm-hmm.
More ideas.
Uh-huh.
Help society. Inspire others and gift others.
Uh-huh. Great. A very complete picture of characteristics of innovators. Anyone else has something different? Either a specific representation of a specific person or some characteristics? Let's do somewhere in the back. Any courageous person sharing?
Strange and crazy.
Strange and crazy. Okay. Any other characteristics? Just one word. Anything that you drew. Let's hear over there.
I thought that Elon did with the rocket and the car in
What is who's that?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Okay, great. So, you know, we read your minds, right? Like you had Steve Jobs, like just the same as the one that you had. And of course Elon Musk, right? There's no car, but like here he is. Yeah, and a lot of us, when we think about innovators, we think about people like these guys here, or perhaps these two, Larry and Sergey, who started Google, right? They were Stanford students when they created the algorithm that gave rise to Google. And you have also innovators here in Bulgaria, some that are very well known and that all of you know better than we do, and perhaps some that would not have been your first choice, but people like Sasha who have started social movements, right? Like who are innovators, but they have not necessarily invented a product, right? And I wonder, anyone drew themselves? Do you consider yourselves innovators? Who considers yourself an innovator? No one?
All right, yes, okay.
Okay, we have some of you. We believe that we are all born innovators, right? Think about when you're a kid, all of the things that you have to learn, there are really tough things, like walking and talking, right? And then education doesn't do a good job of keeping that innovator spirit alive. So what distinguishes innovators? And we heard from, what's your name? Boris. We heard leadership, we heard a lot of traits, but we're going to do a little activity to uncover some of the skills of innovators. So we're going to ask you to stand up, find the space in the room, and find someone who you don't know, hopefully. So go and find someone, people in pairs, find someone you don't know. Everyone has a partner, so you need a partner, so move somewhere else, or here. Everyone needs to be in pairs. Is everyone in pairs? Anyone needs a partner? And this is a standing exercise, so you need to be standing. Okay? Anyone needs a partner? Raise your hand if you need a partner. You need a partner? Okay. And there, you need a partner there. There's someone in the back. You have to remember. So go ahead and partner with them. All right. So I'm going to give you a task. So pay attention. With your partner, you're going to count to 3. Can you demonstrate again? You're going to count to 3, one at a time. So like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Go until I tell you to stop. Count to 3. All right, and let's pause there. Let's pause there. How many of you did it perfectly? No mistakes. No mistakes? No mistakes here? A couple of people? Okay, so let's make it a little bit more difficult. Okay? So now you're going to replace 2 with a clap. So it's going to be 1, 3. 1, 3. Okay? And try to go as fast as you can. Go. 1, clap, 3. They're very concentrated in the task. Great. So, how many of you did not make a mistake at all? Wow. You have a, how fast did you go? But like really fast? Or
really fast.
Was that? Okay, perhaps you slow down, so let's not make a mistake, we go really slowly. But everyone made a mistake. Did you notice, what was your reaction or your partner's reaction when you made a mistake? I saw something. What's that?
A funny reaction.
A funny reaction, kind of like a nervous laughter. What else? Yes, what was the reaction? What's that?
Oh, laughing each other.
Laughing? Why?
just because it was a stupid mistake and it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's so simple and yet we messed up.
Exactly.
I saw over here, you were like covering your face, right? Yeah. Right? Covering your face a lot. Any other reactions? So it's very natural that when we make a mistake, we tend to kind of like, made a mistake, and try to kind of like put it under the rug and forget about it, right? Because in many situations, mistakes are not a good thing. But when you are doing something new, when you're being an innovator and attempting something that no one has attempted, right, you are going to make mistakes. If you're not, then you're not innovating, okay? And you have to embrace those mistakes as a learning opportunity, because you're innovating if you're making mistakes. So we're going to do a third round, and we're going to make it even more difficult. So we're going to do 1 clap, and instead of 3, stomp. Okay, so 1. Okay, but wait for it. Instead of laughing nervously or covering your face or I messed up, you're going to celebrate when you or your partner make a mistake. You're going to, let's do it. 1. Ta-da! We messed up, okay? You're going to celebrate making a mistake and then start again. Okay, go. 1, clap, stomp, celebrate. Celebrate making a mistake. How did it feel? Strange? I heard strange? Yeah, it's strange, right? It's awkward because we're not used to that. What else? How did it feel? You're probably feeling something. You just have to verbalize it. What's that? Exciting? Yeah. It can be liberating, right? And here's the thing, right? Like a lot of innovation happens in teams, and what is important, and this has been shown by research, is that you have to create a culture in your team, in your organization, where making mistakes is celebrated, because it's what it paves the path to innovation. There's, how many of you have heard of Google X, the moonshot factory, the place where like self-driving cars started? Right? People at Google X, when they, are working on a project and the project is not working, and they say, you know what, we're killing that project, that did not work, they get a bonus. They get a pay more, and they get a sticker that is like a badge. They put it in their computers, and then when you see someone with a lot of stickers, it's like a crumpled paper, you say like, wow, people just admire them. It's like, oh my God, you messed up so much, right? Because when you kill a project, that means that you liberate resources to do something that works, right? So take a seat. And actually, we're going to need 6 volunteers. 6 volunteers to come here to the front. 6 volunteers. 6 volunteers, come on up. It's not going to hurt, it's going to be a simple activity. 6 volunteers, otherwise we'll have to volunteer you, which is not as nice. Come on, 6 volunteers. All right, come on. Yes. Give it up for the volunteers. Come on. All right. Come on. We just need 3 more. What about some women? Some women. Come on, women representing here. Come on. It's gonna be simple, come on. The hard work, actually, let me tell you, the hard work will be for those not volunteering.
Come, it's easy.
Those who do not volunteer will be the ones who will be tested after this activity. Then, there you go. We need just two more. Just two more. There you go. One more. What about a faculty member? Faculty member?
Yes.
There you go. Okay, great. So, come here to the front. Kind of like this. Okay, come here to the front. I'm going to give you a simple task as a group, okay? I'm going to repeat it twice, and then I'm going to give you 48 seconds to complete the task, okay? Here's the task, and the rest of you, pay attention, because I'm going to ask you about what happens here. So pay close attention. You are going to make a line according to your birthday, day and month, not the year, day and month, without talking. I'm going to repeat. You're going to order yourselves in a line according to your birthday, the day you were born, day and month, not year, without talking, and time starts now. Go. You guys observe. Thirty seconds left. $15 seconds. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and time's up. All right. Or some like panic mode jumps at the end. So, are you at the end, or are you in between them? Okay. You may talk now. All right. So let's see how we did. Okay. So should we start over there or over here? Over there. Okay. And you can speak. Okay. 14th of August.
3rd of September.
September.
15th of May.
May.
20th of August.
August.
7th
Of June. Sorry about that. And 13th of June. Okay, so we have some kind of like, I don't know. Not perfect, yeah, some clusters of correctness. Let's give our volunteers an applause. You can go back to your seats, but now it's to you to tell me. First, very straightforward question. How did they solve that problem that I gave them? How did they solve that problem? So there is not a trick question. It's a very direct question. How did they solve that problem? Anyone? You were watching. What did you see? Gestures, signs, right? How long did it take for them to start with that solution? Was that?
No, I never said it.
How long? You were watching. Almost instantly, right? Almost instantly. Now, let me tell you something. No matter how many times we do that exercise with executives, with students of all disciplines, probably if we go lower to younger students, we get a different result. We get the same result. Almost immediately, people start making gestures. And it's not a very effective or efficient method. Now, in how many other ways could they have solved that problem? Writing, right? We were writing utensils. Someone could have been like, excuse me, and like write, and they would have solved it like perfectly. Let's come up with a couple of more solutions. What other solutions?
Yes, but we have nothing in hands. We have no paper.
Oh, paper was just there, right?
No phones.
Right. Oh, phones are, you run to your place and grab your phone. Your ID, right? Your ID. And talking about resources, right? Like oftentimes we put limitations on ourselves that are not there, right? Because I didn't tell you, you can't move from here, right? You could have said like, oh, a marker, and by here, right? So oftentimes, and this is just an exercise, but in life, the same happens. We think, here's a problem, here's a solution that I know works, or should work, and implement, right? One other way that you could have solved that problem without any resources, just yourselves, you could have sung your birthday, right? You don't want to hear me sing, so I won't demonstrate, but you could have sung your birthday. I said no talking, right? The point being that innovators go beyond the first right solution. They question the status quo, the way that things are done, and stop and think, let's think about what if we did it this other way, right? And that is a very important characteristic of innovators, behavior of innovators, and it's something that you can practice. Here's an example that demonstrates what innovation looks like in a real project and the behavior of innovators. This is a class that is called, a Stanford class that is called Entrepreneurial Design for Extreme Affordability. Since it has such a long name, we call it Extreme. And in this class, students of all disciplines work in groups, and they're paired with nonprofits in developing countries, and they're usually the nonprofits give them a challenge, right? In the case of this team of students that I'm going to show you here, the challenge, and some of these students, there's an MBA student, a material science student, a computer science, and electrical engineering student. They were told, we need a low-cost incubator for premature babies in rural hospitals in Nepal. Incubators cost $20,000. We need it to cost, 1% of that, because there's no part, they break. The students started working on the project, and they went to Nepal, they went to hospitals, and they noticed that there were perfectly functional incubators with no babies. Say, what's going on here? They continued exploring, and they visited mothers, and they had a key insight. In Nepal, in the rural areas, most of the kids are born at home, not in the hospital. And oftentimes, getting to a hospital might take 6 hours. So many of the kids who are born prematurely and need an incubator die before getting to a hospital. So the students realized that if they could have continued working on that challenge, building a better, cheaper incubator, right? They could deconstruct that and say, well, let's use cheaper materials, we will eliminate this part that is not needed, and come up with a better, cheaper incubator. But that wouldn't have solved lives. So they said, well, let's change the framing of the problem and say, how can we help parents keep their babies warm before they get to the hospital? And these are some of the prototypes, the early prototypes that they created. They invented a baby warmer that actually, after many iterations, this is the product. And it's a company that is producing thousands of these and saving lives. It's kind of like a mini sleeping bag, but it has inside a mixture of materials that when you put it in boiling water or you heat it with a heater, it keeps body temperature for up to 6 hours. And it doesn't need electricity, right? So that can be kept in the villages, at home, and that can save lives. So now this is used and saving real lives. So that is a key behavior of innovators. Not just being problem solvers, but identifying what are the right problems to solve in the first place, right? So, actually I'm going to skip this. We did the exercise of the counting to 3, right? That's another key behavior. To embrace failure as a learning opportunity and experiment with multiple ways. Because ultimately, when you get out of school, you're going to be innovating, you're not going to be given a manual, a precise manual of how to do things, right? There's not going to be a script, so you have to figure out your own script. This is a study that, if you're interested, we can share, where they study many innovators, like the ones we mentioned at the beginning, and they discover these behaviors, that they do this, and this is something that you can practice.
So, as Leticia mentioned, Stanford is in the heart of Silicon Valley, and there are many companies that you have heard of. Genentech, there's many biotech companies, biomedical companies. There's Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Apple, and hundreds, if not thousands more. Lots of venture capital, lots of opportunity, people who are okay with failure. It's a culture that really breeds new venture creation and companies creating new opportunities from within. I personally live on the other side of America, in Massachusetts, originally from New York, parents from India. And I was working at a nonprofit with many universities. And at that time, maybe just 10 years before, I was in your shoes, a student at a university, at an MBA school, doing business plan competitions and really wanting to create my own venture, perhaps as many of you are exploring. Well, when I came across Leticia, and I came across design thinking at Stanford, I got a little angry. Why is this teaching, why is this mindset only in Silicon Valley? Why is it not at every university? It's easy. It takes work. It's something that all of us can acquire. And so at that time, 5 years ago, we began a quest to explore that. How might all universities ultimately change and acquire these? And how might students and faculty be entrepreneurial in how they changed education? So that it wasn't about proving yourself, I know this knowledge, I have a degree, but rather improving ourselves. I have this passion, I have this mission, I'm going to acquire all the knowledge needed in order to be successful in my life's quest. We have 1,500 students who are now University Innovation Fellows. And here are just 5 of them from James Madison University in Virginia. At the center is their faculty champion, Nick Swain. And this student team, there wasn't a lot going on their campus. Nick was trying hard to create some energy around students, and this team came to Silicon Valley. They went through our training, and they became so excited that the students went back, and in 8 weeks, they raised $16,000 and held the first ever student-led hackathon called Bluestone Hacks. They're in the Bluestone Mountains. It was an incredible success. And the university couldn't believe how quickly they turned around fundraising, marketing, recruiting students. And fast forward to now, so Tim Moore actually was a student who, his project that he took on as a University Innovation Fellow was to change education. He wanted interdisciplinary classes for all students. And the faculty member was like, well, let's start with something a little smaller. And they decided that Tim would work on pop-up classes. What's a pop-up class? It's just a couple of hours long. It's a class that applies multiple different disciplines to something real world. So fast forward to today, they have about 20 pop-up classes that they teach, from drones to how to make beer and wine to medical technologies and EMT services. So many faculty teaching a pop-up class with students and coming up with real-world projects that solve real-world problems. Siddharth Mandreddy. So Google was very interested in us taking our program to India because they have a keen interest in supporting public schools there. Now, public schools in India, they're very poorly funded. Faculty do not want to change. Students are all about only their grades. They're not about venture creation or innovation. And this team came to, through the training and to Silicon Valley. And Siddharth, who's the tall gentleman to the right, he went back to his school and said, I have these ideas, I would like to implement them. And his faculty and administration said, you don't have to work on any projects, just focus on getting a good job, getting a good placement, so we can say our university gets students the best jobs. And Siddharth said, no, that's not good enough. This is my mission. I need to improve my institution. I have to do something. So he decided he was going to teach a class on WhatsApp. he taught a class 3 times to 30 students all across India. One of the students he taught was at IIT. IIT is like the equivalent of Harvard in India. And this student at IIT started Facebooking every day about her experience in this class. Management at Siddharth's school found out. They caught wind of what was happening. And they said, Siddharth, why are you doing this for everyone else? You need to do it for us. So Siddharth went back to the school and started working with them to implement courses, a new makerspace, lots of things. Siddharth is the perfect example of what a University Innovation Fellow does. Entrepreneurially, builds demand and demonstrates through their actions why this kind of teaching and learning is important and how much excitement and energy there is when students gain access to it. As I mentioned, we have 1,500 fellows we've trained from around the world at more than 200 institutions. Up until just a year and a half ago, we were only in the US because we were funded by our government. But a year and a half ago, we began expanding all over. And you here in Bulgaria are very lucky that there are some foundations that would like to see it here in your academic institutions. So what University Innovation Fellows does is it empowers a group of students who have been selected, chosen by their faculty, the dean, the presidents, to go through this learning and become leaders of change in higher education. They acquire the skills of understanding what should be at the school, what already exists. Why are students not pursuing it? How does the language need to change? Where in the student experience does it fit best? How do we develop new resources at the right time so that hundreds, if not thousands of students acquire this attitude, this culture, and these skills? And they do that by creating learning opportunities, and I'll give you an example of some of them. So students are creating innovation spaces like the kind that exist at Stanford and at the D School. They're designing classes. Some are even teaching classes, student-led classes. They're working with faculty to design new classes, new curriculum. They're creating entrepreneurship organizations, experiential events. So why not have a hackathon or a 4-hour pop-up where you're designing something that a drone might do? Workshops, community partnerships. So students don't care what's on campus or off campus. What are the local centers of industry? What are their problems? Maybe we can design a challenge around the tourism industry or other industries that are important in this area, fisheries, agriculture. Speakers, bringing in big name speakers. Heck, you could even bring in speakers on Blue Jeans, our video conference, Google Hangout or Skype from all over the globe. So how do we empower these student change agents? I'm going to tell you a little bit about the journey, because I'm hoping that each one of you is excited about being a University Innovation Fellow and is interested in knowing how to become one. So this is a partnership between the faculty and the students. The faculty and the students become almost equal in this role, okay? And so faculty recruit the students who are going to be their partners in crime. They start the application, they invite the 4 students. The students come to an interview, and once accepted, they become candidates in the University Innovation Fellows program and start their training on video conference in September while they're on their campus. They receive assignments weekly that they're applying to their own campus. What exists here? What needs to exist? They're getting on the video conference with other students from all over the globe and finding out what exists in Chile, in Turkey, in India, in Massachusetts, in Florida. They're learning design thinking. They're figuring out how to use the tool set of design thinking for this project. You can apply it to any project, but for this project in particular. They're learning Lean Startup. How many of you are familiar with Lean Startup? Okay, so Lean Startup is changing the way entrepreneurship happens. And so They're learning Lean Startup, again, applying it to changing higher education. Next, the landscape canvas. We have some custom tools we've created that allow you to walk away with a deep level of understanding about your school, the same that your administrators and faculty have. And we ask you to document everything about your school on our wiki. In fact, if you go to universityinnovation.org, you can search up on anything. If you're a computer science student, you're interested in hackathons, you're interested in other schools, you can see what kinds of things they have. So after the 6-week training in the fall ends, you have to get to work. We want to see the project that you imagined come to life. So prototyping it, having a small version of it, actually executing on it, learning something about your institution and your project. And then you tell us by the end of the year, by the end of December 2018, you tell us what you learned and what you did. And based on what you say to us, we give you an invitation to come to Silicon Valley, where you spend 1 day at Google headquarters and 2 days at Stanford D School. And you learn all about design thinking. You learn how to facilitate, how to get up in front of the room and teach this to other students. You learn about spaces, and you walk away with 300 other amazing family members who are equally as passionate about changing higher education for the purpose of positively benefiting society. That's in March. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's March. You're also added to an online social community that is very active, always posting. This is what I just faced. Can you believe it? My faculty member said no. Oh no, this is what happened to me. This is how I did it. Or celebration, I finally achieved it. I'm meeting with the president and their cabinet, and they're giving me $10,000 to develop a space. Everything is discussed here. Resources are shared that you can take and bring back to your school. Regional meetups. So beyond the big meetup in Silicon Valley, also we're holding one in the Eastern Hemisphere. We held one in India last week. Same exact thing in Silicon Valley in India. We also hold shorter events, 1 or 2 days long, in different parts of the planet. This summer, we're holding one in Uruguay and also at Twente in the Netherlands. UI Fresh. So this was the UI Fresh is a project where fellows are introducing design thinking and innovation to 100% of the first-year students on your campus. If you introduce it to 100% of first years, in 4 years, your campus looks totally different. Everyone's innovative, excited, supporting one another. You're creating a culture that is fearless and not fearing failure. Fellows go on to very important places. This is the National Academy of Engineering in Washington, D.C., established by Abraham Lincoln. They determine science and technology policy. Students get invited to speak at congressional hearings. They get invited to a lot of leadership meetings because where they're determining how much money goes to education, how much support goes to education, usually there are no students in the room. What's wrong with that? Right? A lot. Your voices need to be at that table. Another thing we did was we put out a challenge called the D Challenge. This is something that worked successfully in India twice, and so we unveiled it in the US. We said to fellows, here are materials, go teach 4 design thinking workshops, and if you teach 4, reaching 100 students, then you can come to Google Developer Days. This is a 2,000-person conference for professionals who code. And these students taught those professionals. We had a capacity in the room, only 90 people could fit, but there was a waiting line. There was a line of 300 people waiting 3 hours. People were cutting one another in order to come into this workshop and be taught by these students. So you have lifelong skills that you will be able to bring with you anywhere when you're a change agent. The most important thing that students in our program are trying to do is to create learning experiences that are joyful. where students are excited about what they learn, where they're communicating with the professor, where they're not afraid to speak their ideas. How might we create these kinds of learning opportunities here at your institution? Because we were so successful with this student program, many educators came to us and said, we want to learn how you do it. How do you put students at the center of your classes? How do you create such excitement, bring out the excitement in your learners? And so we have a 4-day workshop for faculty who come to Stanford and learn design thinking and learn how to teach differently. So we're going to pause there, and we'd love to have a conversation. You must have ideas swirling in your head about this program, whether it's a fit for you or this campus. We want to hear them. So, what do you think? In a minute?
Yes,
In just a minute?
Yeah.
No, I really, really want to hear from you.
Yeah. So let's do something. Turn to the person next to you and discuss what was interesting, what was, what would you like to hear more about, and discuss that. Then we're here. Go ahead. Turn to a person next to you and discuss. What did you think of
The
this?
person next to you, maybe you could go diagonal, maybe you two talk.
All right, so let's hear some of your thoughts. Anyone cares to share what you were just discussing? Any thoughts? Any questions for us? So let me ask you a question. Why are you here in this room? Anyone cares to share? You were ordered to come. You wanted to come. Simple question. Why are you here in this room?
I was asleep and he messaged me. He texted me like, yo, there's a conference, you gotta come.
Okay.
Okay.
About what? Did he tell you about what?
He just told me there's a conference on.
There's a conference. And you just, you respect him too much. Like whatever he's a good friend, whatever he says. So what about you? Why did you text him?
I feel like it was something interesting, so I just came to hear about what you guys have to say.
But what was that? What was it? How was it communicated to you? What was interesting to you? Like in the invitation. Be honest. You can be honest.
No, I mean, there was some people was talking about that they are coming here and stuff, so I was like, okay, maybe it's something interesting. I can hear about when you guys speak about it. So now I'm here and I listen what you guys do.
Did you say anything interesting?
Yeah, just about you guys.
Yeah?
Yes.
Something's interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. Does this, yes?
Yeah, I want to say that in fact, so we are making to include students in preparing the study materials.
What about you students? Would you like to participate in dictating what your education is?
We are using some students from last years in first for some practices, but it's only exceptions,
Right.
not a rule, of course, because maybe yes, we don't hear that around the 10% of students are ready to work, especially in our projects.
So how many students, by show of hands, who would be interested in designing interesting learning experiences that were fun and engaging? Who would want to work on that? Okay, I see some hands. All right. What other interesting things did you hear in the last hour? Anything that really stood out to you? Don't be shy. You're smiling. You have something on your mind.
Yeah, about Silicon Valley and Google development because I'm coding and I'm making some games.
Cool.
For mobile games. So it's something that interests me.
Great. Would you like to see more of that?
Yeah,
happen? Yeah. Would you be a designer of that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm dessert. So, in the U.S., students like yourself have recognized that they want a better society. They want more young people who are leading. They want more young people who are a part of the decision making. And they want a life of purpose and meaning. To really sort of be intentional about how they design their path, their life here in Bulgaria. You're a fairly new country. Your independence, celebrated this weekend, was only established at the beginning of the century, right? But freedom from communism just came not too long ago. This school is only maybe 25 or so years old. You have so many things that are in startup mode. You need entrepreneurially minded young people to help shape your society. Make it what you want it to be. These skills, even if you're not a University Innovation Fellow, you are going to want University Innovation Fellows working with your faculty to make education amazing. Because your country deserves it, you deserve it, and this is the way to get there. So I'm excited to be at this campus. This is a beautiful nation. You have so much potential. You're like right in the middle of everything. And you have this amazing gift of the foundation and philanthropic support that wants to help you spark a movement. And we're excited to work with you to do that. So thank you for coming and listening today. My colleague and I really appreciate that. And we want to hear from you directly. So if you're too shy to ask a question in a big room, come up to us at the reception because we really want to hear your perspective.
Thank you.